Tempe Cummins' master intended to keep word of freedom from his slaves, but Tempe's mother overheard his scheming and risked her life to spread the news. She said, "Mother was working in the house, and she cooked too. She said she used to hide in the chimney corner and listen to what the white folks said. When freedom was declared, Master wouldn't tell him. But Mother, she hear him telling Mrs. that the slaves was free, but they didn't know it, and he not gonna tell them till he makes another crop or two." When Mother hear that, she said she slipped out the chimney corner and cracked her heels together 4 times and shouts, "I's free! I's free!" Then she run to the field against Master's will and told all the other slaves, and they quit work. Then she run away in the night. She slip into a big ravine near the house and have them bring me to her. Master, he come out with his gun and shot at Mother. But she run down the ravine and gets away with me.
Mama didn't know where to go. You see, after freedom broke, just like you turn something out, didn't know where to go. That's just where to stay. Didn't know where to go. Turns out just like, you turn out cattle, I say.
The voice of Laura Smalley.
When I thought old Master was dead, but when he had been off to the war and come back. But then I didn't know, until the war. I just didn't know he was gone a long time. All the niggas gathered around to see old Master again. And old Master didn't tell it was free.
He didn't tell you that?
No, he didn't tell. They waited. I think now they say they waited 6 months out of that. 6 months. And turned them loose on the 19th of June. That's why, you celebrate that day, Colors Folks.
Is that right?
On the 19th, that's called, they said they give them a big dinner on the 19th. But now we didn't know. I'll tell you, I don't hide the other side of the folks, freedom. We didn't know. They just thought, we just feeding us, Just had a long table. And just had just little everything you want to eat, and drink, Now they said that was on the 19th. And everything you want to eat and drink.
No, there wasn't no school. And when they started the little school, people that were slaves, many of them go to school.
Fountain Hughes.
Except they had a father and a mother. And my father was dead, and my mother was living. But she had 3, 4 other little children. She had to put them all to work to help take care of the others. We didn't have no property. We didn't have no home. Been slaves all our lives. My mother was a slave. My sister was a slave. Father was a slave.
Robert Glenn decided to stay and work for his former master after his freedom came. He decided to wait until the time was right for him to be independent. James Earl Jones as Robert Glenn.
Master told me to catch 2 horses and that we had to go to Dickinson, which was the county seat of Webster County. On the way to Dickinson, he said to me, "Bob, did you know you were free, and Lincoln has freed you? You are as free as I am." We went to the Freedmen's Bureau and went into the office. A Yankee officer looked me over and asked Master my name and informed me I was free and asked me whether or not I wanted to keep living with Moore. I did not know what to do, so I told him yes. A fixed price of $75 and board was then set as the salary I should receive per year for my work. The Yankee told me to let him know if I was not paid as agreed. I went back home and stayed a year. During the year, I hunted a lot at night and thoroughly enjoyed being free. I took my freedom by degrees and remained obedient and respectful, but still wondering and thinking of what the future held for me. After I retired at night, I made plan after plan and built air castles as to what I would do. At this time, I formed a great attachment for the white man, Mr. Atlas Chandler, with whom I hunted. He bought my part of the game we caught and favored me in other ways. Mr. Chandler had a friend, Mr. DeWitt Yarborough, who was an adventurer and trader, and half-brother to my ex-master, Mr. Moore, with whom I was staying. He is responsible for me taking myself into my own hands and getting out of feeling I was still under obligations to ask my master and missus when I desired to leave the premises. Mr. Yarborough's son went off to school at a place called Kilch, Kentucky, and he wanted to carry a horse to him and also take along some other animals for trading purposes. He offered me a new pair of pants to make the trip for him, and I accepted the job. I delivered the horse to his son and started for home. On the way back, I ran into Uncle Squire Yarborough, who once belonged to DeWitt Yarborough. He persuaded me to go home with him and go with him to a wedding in Union County, Kentucky. The wedding was 20 miles away, and we walked the entire distance. I had been thinking for several days before I went back home as to just what I should tell Mr. Moore, and as to how he felt about the matter, and what would I get when I got home. In my dilemma, I almost forgot I was free. I got home at night, and my mind and heart was full, but I was surprised at the way he treated me. He acted kind and asked me if I was going to stay with him next year. I was pleased. I told him yes, sir, and then I lay down and went to sleep. He had a boss man on his plantation then, and next morning he called me, but I just couldn't wake. I seemed to be in a trance or something. I had recently lost so much sleep. He called me the second time, and still I did not get up. Then he came in and spanked my head. I jumped up and went to work feeding the stock and splitting wood for the day's cooking and fires. I then went in and ate my breakfast. Mr. Moore told me to hitch a team of horses to a wagon and go to a neighbor's 5 miles away for a load of hogs. I refused to do so. They called me into the house and asked me what I was going to do about it. I said, I do not know. As I said that, I stepped out of the door and left. I went straight to the county seat and hired to Dr. George Rasby in Webster County for $100 per year.
Isa Mosley was born in 1856 in Georgia. His 1941 interview took place in Gee's Bend, Alabama.
Well, now, they tell me to a year for the folk know that they was free. And when they found out they was free, they worked on shares, they tell me. Worked on shares. Didn't rent no land, they worked on shares. Now, you know, I was a boy, I'm going to explain it the best of my understanding. They say they worked on shares. I think it said to, what is both or third, I think. He got the third, I think they said what they made after surrender.
Most former slaves became sharecroppers, laborers who received as their year's pay a portion of the crop they produced. Families would also have to buy supplies from the landowners. Some were forced to stay there year after year to pay their debt. The voice of Laura Smalley.
They let you go just as far in debt as you want to go, you know. And then see, if they know your crop wasn't going to clear it, you know, And so next year you'd have to stay to wake out your debt. If it didn't, it'd take all your horses, cows, and everything away from you.
Leave you with nothing.
Leave with nothing. You see, that's why they keep them there, that way. So that, they could get everything they had if they didn't wait. In good way, because some of them you just take and give everything they had up and going off. Give everything up. They see it is going, sure enough, they beg you to stay, another year. Get anything you want, any kind of money. But now you're going to stay there next year because your crop ain't going to clear it, It's going to clear it. They let you stay and feed you to the highest. And I had children like this girl here, that she any kind of dress she wanted, they let you take it up. But now when the crop comes, they take every bit of that crop. You wouldn't have nothing to live on, next year till next year comes. Well, that old McCown's right there for Christmas, get this what you wanted. That's what they do.
The Reconstruction Acts of 1867 promised voting rights to the newly freed people. These new American citizens wanted to vote and hold office. Some actually did. From the recorded interview of Harriet Smith.
Was your husband, Henry Smith, much of a...
Jim Smith?
Jim Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Was he a church man?
Yes, he was.
What happened to him?
Church man, a politic man, too.
Oh, y'all voted in those days.
Yes, my husband was there. It was known by white folks. Well, when he got killed, the white folks was just crazy about him. That boy that killed my husband, I nursed him when he was a baby.
How come him to kill you, huh?
Well, he's just mean. Just mean, and they didn't like people up to date, And of course, there's just 13 months from the difference my husband killed his brother.
Killed your husband's brother.
Mm-hmm. He'd been to church. I think he went to jail that night to carry a bale of cotton. And this Walter Byers sat down on a seat and hold fast level and sitting down talking. And when the time come his cotton, they killed him and they killed my brother, my husband on the way from Cedarburg. I go right to the spot now and that's why he was killed at.
Shot him or
Shot him on the way from Cedarburg. See, we have a Cedarburg at home.
Well, what kind of politicking did he do?
Well, he worked for white people when they want to be elected,
He worked amongst the colored folks.
The colored people didn't speak to white folks. He couldn't get in the house when he spoke hardly for white people. He had a good line.
And he'd round up the votes, and that's how come them to kill him.
People from Austin, from St. Marcos, from every which way, white and colored, so he came to speak. He'd go to the courthouse and speak for him.
Well, did the colored folks not like him?
No, the colored people all went to these white people. This boy that killed him, who Walter Byers. I nursed him when he was a baby before I was ever acquainted with my husband.
Well, what I'm trying to find out is, how come him to kill your husband? Was it over politics?
Oh, politics and different things, Boy.
Did the white folks have your husband killed, or did he just walk by and just go shoot?
My husband went to Cedarburg that day, and he, on his way back from the Cedarburg, he ran over the road and killed him.
What did they do to Walter Byers?
Well, how that's what he lived up in now, they tell any kind of tale, didn't do nothing, didn't have him up, but his brother-in-law killed him.
Is that right?
Sure.
They must have been shooting a lot of folk up in that day.
Yeah, people, poor people, rich white people don't bother nobody.
Or the poor white folks.
It was poor.
Y'all must have all been kin folks in those days.
Good.
Well, all of you seem to have been
White
Walter
folk.
Byers and all.
No, those white people.
Oh, what about
What about poor white persons? I know I can go right to this place now where he's born.
Oh, I didn't know he was a white man.
Yes, you were.
Why do you reckon he wanted to shoot you?
That's just because he didn't like them. Because our boys was well learned and they'd have speakings, at the schoolhouse, for white folks that want to run for office or something.
For the former slave, freedom came with a price. They had to pay with hard work, hardships, and sometimes their lives. Although the number of these recorded historical interviews are few, they illustrate a connection to contemporary American life. The Fountain Hughes interview was recorded in 1949.
Now, you all try to live like young people ought to live. Don't want everything somebody else has got. Whatever you get, it is yours. Be satisfied. And don't spend your money until you get it. So many people get in debt. When you want something, wait until you get the money and pay for it cash. That's what I've done. If I wanted anything, I wait until I got the money and I paid for it cash. I never bought nothing on time in my life. I never done it. Now I'm 100 years old and I don't owe nobody 5 cents. And I ain't got no money either. I'm happy, just as happy as somebody that got millions. Nothing worries me. My head ain't even white. Nothing in the world worries me. I can sit here in this house till night. Nobody can come and say, Mr. Hughes, you owe me a quarter, you owe me $1, you owe me 5 cents. No, you can't. I don't owe you nothing.
John Henry Falk was one of the scholars who audio recorded his interviews with former slaves. His work was deposited in the Library of Congress and in the Center for American History at the University of Texas at Austin. In an interview 40 years later, he described an event that made him think long and hard about prejudice.
I remember sitting out on a wagon tongue with this old black man, completely illiterate, down here near Navasota, in the plantation area. And was telling him what a different kind of white man I was. I really I'd gotten come educated on blacks and their problems, except we called them colored folks, the colored folks. And I said, you might not realize it, but I'm not like white folks you run into down here. I believe in giving you the right to go to school, to good schools. Now, I know you don't want to go with white people. I don't believe in, going overboard on this thing, but I believe colored people ought to be given good schools, and I believe you ought to be given the right to go into whatever you qualified to go into. And I believe you ought to be given the right to vote. And I remember him looking at me very sadly and kind of sweetly and condescending and said, you still got the disease, honey. I know you think you're cured, but you're not cured. He says, you talking there, you sitting there talking, and I know it's nice, and I know you're a good man, talking about giving me this, and giving me that right. You talking about giving me something that I was born with just like you was born with it. You can't give me the right to be a human being. I'm born with that right. Now, you can keep me from having that. If you've got all the policemen and all the jobs on your side, you can deprive me of it. But you can't give it to me, because I was born with it just like you was. My God, it had a profound effect on me. I was furious with him. You try to be kind to these people, you see, and give them an inch and they'll take an L. But the more I reflect on it, the more profoundly it affected me. And I realized this was where it really was. I could give them something that they were born with, just like I was born with it. I was entitled to it the same way I was entitled with it.
Most former slaves gladly told their stories. For some, it was the first time anyone wanted to know about their lives as slaves. The society around them had given them the impression that being a former slave was something to be ashamed of, something not to be talked about. Today we need to hear their stories. For how can you know how far you have come if you don't know where you started? Langston Hughes speaks so eloquently in his poem Mother to Son about what the experience of the elders means to their descendants. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time I's been a-climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So, boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps 'cause you finds it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now. For I's still going, honey. I's still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair.
When did you come to Baltimore?
You don't remember when Garfield died, do you? When they shot Garfield? No, I don't think you were born.
I don't think I was.
No. Well, I come to Baltimore that year. And I worked for a man by the name of Reed when I first come to Baltimore. I commenced to haul manure for him. All horses was here then. No electric cars, no cable cars, they were all horse cars. And I used to haul manure, go around to different stables, everybody had horses.
Did you ever think you'd live to see the automobile? No. I didn't think I'd ever live to see the automobile. And 10 years that I heard talk of them. I heard my husband talk of them. He went north with a herd of bees for some white folk, and he seen them out there.
And then they put on a cable car, what they call cable car. Well, they run them for a little while, maybe a couple of 3 years or 4 years. Then somebody invented the electric car, and that first one on North Avenue. Well, had to run a while, and they kept on inventing until they got them all different kinds of cars involved. I just can't think of what year it was. Well, I don't know how. I don't know, to tell you the truth. When I think of it today, I don't know how I'm living. None of the rest of them that I know of is living. I'm the oldest one that I know is living. But still, I'm thankful to the Lord.
Remembering Slavery was produced by Smithsonian Productions and the Institute of Language and Culture. Special thanks to the Library of Congress. Jackie Gales Webb and Kathy Farnell producers. Written by Judlyn Lilly and Jackie Gales Webb. John Tyler, production manager. Todd Holslander, production engineer. Martha Knaus, marketing manager. Wesley Horner, executive producer. Original music by Bryant Pugh. I'm Tonia Stewart.
To learn more, visit our website at www.pri.org. Remembering Slavery is available on cassette with a companion book. For more information, call 800-233-4830. Remembering Slavery is made possible by major grants from the National Endowment for the Humanities, dedicated to expanding American understanding of human experience and cultural heritage, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, with additional support from the Southern Humanities Media Fund and the Alabama Humanities Foundation.
PRI, Public Radio International.